Students, in this video we are going to read chapter 1 of your SST book. Open page number 6. The name of the lesson is Beginning of a Struggle. The Indian struggle for freedom, also called the Indian nationalist movement, began with the Sepoy Mutiny of 1857. The soldiers from the East India's Company started rebelling and protesting against the British. It went on for 2 years. This protest is often regarded as the first war for the Indian independence. The revolt of 1857 started when the soldiers refused to use the bullet cartridges that were supposed to be made from a mixture of beef tallow and big lard. Most of the Indian soldiers belonging to the Hindu and Muslim community refused to bite off the cartridges since the cow was sacred of the Hindus and pigs were forbidden for Muslims. The foundation of the British rule in India was rattled by the mutiny. The fact that the living conditions of the Indian people was not improving became a common knowledge and the blame was put on the British soldiers. Eminent personalities started to raise questions over the pre existing traditions, practices, and also began to emphasize on the education and state of living of the Indian population. Some of these reformers were Swami Vivekanand, Swami Dayanand, Saraswati, and Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Their common goal was to bring about unity in the population by reform. This common goal of many of such thinkers and reformers became the pillar on which the Indian National Congress was formed. Indian National Congress INC, a body enabled in 1885, millions of people to came forward and started a war against the oppressive British rule. INC was founded by Dadabhai Naroji, Dinshaw Wacha, and Allan Octavian Hume. Some of the most famous presidents of INC were Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Badruddin Tayyibji, and Dadabhai Naroji. The INC played a crucial role during the late 19th and early to mid 20th centuries in the struggle of Indian independence. W.C. Banerjee presided over the first ever INC session, which was organized in Mumbai. 72 representatives from different parts of India took part in this session. In 1892, the British Parliament's first Indian member was Dadabhai Naoroji. The British government was convinced that the divide and rule policy was the backbone on which they will be able to rebuild their empire, which was shaken by the Sepoy Mutiny and the formation of the INC. More and more people began to join the INC and the party began to grow. The government passed a rule banning freedom of speech and expression and began to divide the Hindu and Muslim communities. Next is Partition of Bengal. In July 1905, Lord Curzon, who was the Viceroy of India, declared the Partition of Bengal, which was a significant event in the history of India. It was effective from 16th October 1905. Bengal was separated into two parts: Eastern Bengal, which had mostly Muslim areas, and Western Bengal, which had predominantly Hindu areas. This was a result of divide and rule policy. This resulted in formation of different organizations by the Hindus and the Muslims. However, in 1911, Bengal was reunited. Swadeshi and boycott movement. The Bengal partition resulted in a feeling of resentment among the people across the country. This resulted in the Swadeshi and boycott movements. On 7 August 905, the Swadeshi movement was officially announced in Bengal at the Calcutta town hall along with the boycott movement. The main objective of these two movements were using material and service which were produced in India and destroying all the goods made by the Britishers. Both these movements were promoted by Bal Gangadhar Tilak. This resulted in the withdrawal of royal proclamation by the British government in 1911. Also, it put a stop to the partition of Bengal. The British hanged Khudiram Bose when he was at an age of 15 years. Have been numerous freedom fighters and revolutionaries in India, such as Bhagat Singh, Ram Prasad Bismil, Khudiram Bose, Aurobindo Ghosh, Chandrasekhar Azad, and Sukhdev. They did not believe that the boycott movement and peaceful protest would bring any results. They believe in the fact that force should be met by force. India's struggle for freedom saw people from outside the country also participating in it. For example, Vande Mataram was a paper published from Geneva by Madam Kama. A freedom movement from Kabul was helmed by Maulana Barkatullah, and an association was formed in Berlin by Narendra Nath Chattopadhyay. In order to keep the Indians happy and stop all the protests, there were various changes announced by the British government, such as increase in the number of seats for Indians in the General Legislative Council and the Provincial Council. However, the Indians were still in minority. There were one seat reserved for Indian in the Governor General Councils. The first Indian in the Governor General Council to be appointed as a law member was Satyendra Sinha. The divide and rule policy of the British rule continued, and Muslims were given separate representation. In 1914, when the First World War began, the Indian extended their support to the British as they hoped that this would result in the British granting them their freedom. However, the British made stricter laws and introduced only few reforms. For example, they would jail Indians without giving them any chance at trial. Because of this, there were a number of protests and rallies carried out by Indians throughout the country, and the British brutally prohibited all of these protests. So, students, here we have finished the reading of chapter 1. Read the whole lesson while listening and watching this video. In our next video, we are going to understand this chapter. Till then, bye bye. Have a nice day.